UFC Fight Night, Fiziev versus Gamrot, full card prediction. Now, there's not a lot of fights on this UFC Fight Night here, only 11 that have made the mark for this UFC Fight Night with a lot of cancellations. Jacob Malkoun cycling through different opponents, starting with the undefeated Aliaskar Kisriev, going to the debuting Robert Berksik, however you say that name, and now landing on Cody Brundage, who's on a little bit of a skid inside of the UFC. We originally had Javid Basharat taking on Victor Henry, which would have made this card so good, but that fight is being moved to UFC 294. We also did have Cody Durden and Bruno Silva, but Cody Durden, his arm got cranked against Jake Hadley in that fight. He said in an interview with the Fight Wave on YouTube that he took a lot of damage in that fight due to that arm bar, and the commission was not able to medically clear him to fight on this day. And then the last one, Jake Collier versus Johnny Walker's brother, Walter Walker, and he's now going to be taking on instead my guy, Mohammed Usman. So it's still a solid card. Jacob Malkoun's a solid up-and-comer in my opinion. Tim Means is a scrappy veteran. Dan Argueta is an absolute beast. Jourdain, Ramos, banger. Fletcher versus Battle, banger. Waterson-Gomez, Marina Rodriguez, banger. Danny Ige, Bryce Mitchell, banger. And main event is, of course, a banger. Make sure to smash like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, as well as comment all of your predictions down below, because, you know, I like looking at them. Whenever you guys comment, and it's your predictions, I love going through those ones, because I like to see when you guys have certain underdogs, and I'm like, I was feeling really confident about the favorite, and you guys are like, I think Miles Johns, or I think, I don't know, AJ Fletcher's going to destroy Bryan Battle, whatever the case may be. So put those predictions down below. But with that being said, let's get into the first fight as we go on through the UFC's bantamweight division. 34-year-old Montserrat Rendon is making her UFC debut this weekend. 5-0 undefeated. Did lose a jiu-jitsu match to Juliana Miller, which is troubling to say the least, that you're getting submitted by Juliana Miller. But, you know, she came back with some good wins after that. They were all decision wins. She did get a knockout win in her amateur career, a submission win in her amateur career, but as a pro, few split decisions against losing record fighters and things like that. I don't know what she's really doing inside of the UFC. She's from Mexico, so, I mean, why didn't they just put her on the fight card the week before this? I don't know, but she's taking on Tamires Vidal, 25 years old, with really solid striking, knocking out Ramona Pascual in her last fight. Did get an illegal knee win on Aylin Perez. That one didn't really count, but she's got good takedown defense. Should be able to keep this one on the feet, where I think she's a better striker. She's not really the best when it comes to her striking defense, but when she lands with those knees, when she lands in the clinch situations at range with the jabs and the 1-2s, she is very solid at doing so. I think Tamires Vidal is going to have a solid performance here and win it by a unanimous decision. Should be a fun one for women's MMA for all it's worth. I do believe Rendon is going to be pressuring forward, trying to get some takedowns, trying to pressure and land some big shots. Vidal is going to counter her jabber, knee her once they get into the clinch, and I do have Vidal by a decision. Mizuki, Inoue, and Hannah Goldy in the women's strawweight division. Similar age, similar height. Little bit of a reach advantage there for Mizuki. Mizuki Inoue against Hannah Goldy in this fight. I always get that name wrong. It's a weird spelling type of a name, but she's not very active at all inside of the UFC or even outside of the UFC. She has had 5 fights in 7 years, got an armbar win in Invicta, lost to a beast in Brundage and Liroba over there in Invicta. That's not a bad loss whatsoever. She was undefeated, and the champ at the time came back. Whoops. Came back with a very solid decision win on Viviane Pereira, and then got her shot in the UFC, beat Yanan Wu, which was a very legitimate win. Then she lost to Amanda Lemos, but it wasn't a domination. It was not a domination at all. If we go ahead, take a little bit of a look-see at the UFC statistics website, it was not at all a clear, like, Amanda Lemos is going to go out there and dominate her. She got a knockdown in the fight. She wasn't able to finish. She got a few takedowns in that fight. She wasn't able to finish. Round 2 was really, really close, where Amanda Lemos only landed 2 more strikes than Mizuki, I always say that one, Mizuki Inoue in that fight. Got the knockdown in the other rounds, which is very impressive. Even losing to a girl like that can be impressive if you lose to her in a certain way, in which she did. She's not going to go out there and get finished by Hannah Goldy if freaking Amanda Lemos is unable to. And now that I know that, I know Mizuki Inoue is going to go out there. She's going to pressure forward on Hannah, who does not like to be pressured forward. We saw that in the Molly McCann fight. You weather the first round storm of where Hannah Goldy's good with her submissions, good with some sort of power in her hands. You get the fight on to round number 2, into round number 3. You pour on the pressure on a Hannah Goldy, and then you finish her. That's what you do. Mizuki Inoue is not known for her finishing ability. 2 decision wins were her last 2, and then a submission win over Lynn Alvarez right there. But I do believe this fight has a good shot at being finished, because in round 2, round 3, if she's able to tie her out and really gas out Hannah Goldy in those later rounds, you just hit her with a few shots, get her to dive in on a shot, boom, guillotine, boom, sweep her around the back and get a rear naked choke. So I'm going to go with that. I know a lot of people aren't thinking it, but I'm going to go Mizuki Inoue by his submission. I finally got the name correctly. Submission in the end of round number 2, or the beginning of round number 3. Mohammed Usman and Jake Collier in the heavyweight division. I think Mohammed's kind of better everywhere. He's not very good, but he's somehow better everywhere than Jake Collier in this fight. He's a better boxer than Jake Collier. Jake Collier doesn't have much technique to him. Usman has a little bit of a weird technique, but somehow he makes it work every now and then. He's got solid power and athleticism as well, and he's got good wrestling to fall back on if he needs to. So round 1, I believe, is going to be the striking round. Usman and Jake are going to strike a little bit. Round number 2, Jake's going to start to gas out a little bit, leaving Usman able to land a little bit more on the takedowns and the wrestling and the grappling. Bada bing, bada boom. Usman wins round 1 with the striking very slightly. Out wrestles Jake in round number 2, gassing him out a little bit, and almost finishes Jake in round number 3. I'm going to go Mohammed Usman, 29-28 decision. I think one of those rounds, Jake will find a way to just rock Mohammed Usman. I think maybe round number 2, it'll come down to round 3, Mohammed Usman for the decision. Jacob Malkoun and Cody Brundage in the middleweight division. I am going to be very confident. You're going to see in the confident picks video, that's the wrong Google Doc. You're going to see in the confident picks video, Jacob is going to be very high on that list. He is younger, which is surprising. He's not as tall. He is a little bit lengthier than Cody Brundage, but he's a better wrestler than Cody Brundage. He's got good, solid cardio. Cody Brundage has, iffy cardio in my opinion, but Jacob Malkoun beat Nick Maximov in his last fight. Looked really impressive in doing so, because he looked pretty okay in the striking on Nick Maximov, and then was able to kind of take him down over and over and over again in round 2 and in round number 3. Only lost at Phil Hawes, where Phil just went out there and just popped him with a really big shot. And then he lost to Brendan Allen, where Brendan was getting taken down a lot by Jacob Malkoun, and Brendan's known to be one of the better wrestlers and grapplers in this UFC middleweight division. I don't know. That loss to Brendan Allen was really, really close. If you're making it that close of a fight with such a beast like Brendan Allen, I do believe you should be able to keep it even on the feet, mixing those takedowns. And that is why I got Jacob Malkoun by unanimous decision. Tim Means and Andre Fialho in the UFC's welterweight division. These odds, kind of ridiculous. Both guys on 3-fight losing streak. The loser, they could be cut. They could very, very likely be cut in this fight. I do believe Andre, like the Tapology is saying, has a lot of power. Knocked out Cameron Van Camp, knocked out Miguel Baeza, knocked out a lot of other guys earlier on in his career. Then he started getting knocked out over and over and over again. Jake Matthews knocked him out. Muslim Salikov was able to knock him out. And then Joaquin Buckley was able to knock him out. Those are all clean, flush, big shots. Able to rock that chin of Andre Fialho. But Tim Means, out of all those fights, he's not getting finished in a lot of them. Just kidding. I'm forgetting about the Alex Morono guillotine. I, for some reason, thought that was a decision win, but it was a guillotine, I believe it was the end of round 1 or beginning of round number 2. Lost a super close decision to Max Griffin, and then he got submitted by Kevin Holland. But those are kind of the kryptonite fights for Tim Means, is where he's doing good on the feet, good work on the feet, outstriking Alex Morono a little bit. It's a very close round, could go either way, and then they find a way to mix in some wrestling and grappling and submit him like Daniel Rodriguez or something like that. He hasn't been knocked out too much. The only time was Nico Price, and that was a very, very long time ago. Jorge Masvidal, unable to knock him out, but a lot of people are able to submit him inside of the UFC. Is one of those type of guys going to be Andre Fialho? No, it's not. No, it is not. And if he's able to go out there, use the clinch to his advantage, and outstrike Mike Perry, outstrike Nicholas Dalby, land his elbows in those fights, I think he should be able to do the same to Andre Fialho in this fight. I think the odds should be pick'em, but the betting odds do have Fialho as a 2-1 favorite, which is kind of weird in my opinion. But I do think Tim Means makes this dirty and grimy in round 2 and round number 3. Outstrikes Andre ever so slightly, mixes in the clinch with the elbows and the knees, and makes it a dirty bird fight. And I do got Tim Means winning round 2, winning round 3, barely losing round 1, 29-28. Decision. Miles Johns and Dan Argueta in the bantamweight division. I feel good about this one. Dan Argueta, I do have going out there and getting a finish. My guy Miles Johns did get knocked out by Mario Batista and did get submitted by John Castaneda, but he got solid wins, especially for bantamweight, knocking out Kevin Natividad, knocking out Anderson Dos Santos, then getting an impressive win over Vince Morales in his last fight. But I believe, just like the John Castaneda fight was going, that's what I see happening here with Dan Argueta. Dan Argueta isn't known for being like a super duper finisher. Decision win over Diego Silva, over Nick Aguirre, and then, the no contest with Ronnie Lawrence, where he was going to get close to finishing that fight, but the referee prematurely stopped it. Did lose to Damon Jackson, but it was a decision, and it was on short notice. Up a weight class. That's a lot of things to go against Dan Argueta for that fight. But for this one, I think Dan Argueta is going to take Miles Johns down and bully him there. I think on the feet, he's going to press forward. He's going to throw big shots, hurt Miles Johns on the feet. And I think in round number 2, after he hurts him on the feet a little, I think he gets the fight to the ground. And just like the freaking, the fight with John Castaneda, I think Dan gets the back of Miles Johns and rear nakeds him, or he just falls right in to an arm triangle choke. Submission round number 2, Dan Argueta. Charles Jourdain and Ricardo Ramos in the featherweight division. Very, very fun fight in the featherweight division. Same height, a little bit of a reach advantage for Ricardo Ramos here. He wins one, he loses one, he wins one, he loses one. Has solid wins in the UFC. Eduardo Garagori, no longer in the UFC. Bill Algeo is a very, very good win. Then Danny Chavez, who was able to knock him out with that spinning back elbow, did lose to Zubaira Tukhugov and Lerone Murphy, both very, very solid upper echelon featherweights. This is also another upper echelon featherweight in Charles Jourdain here, coming off wins over Andre Yule. Very impressive win. He looked very good in that fight. Submitted Lando Venado with that guillotine. Beat Kron Gracie in a fight where it was just really, really weird to watch. Kron just pulling guard over and over and over again. And he lost to Shane Burgos due to the wrestling. And he lost to Nathaniel Wood due to the speed. So it's going to come down to, can Charles Jourdain close that distance and land his combinations without Ricardo Ramos using his speed on the outside to pick apart Charles Jourdain. I don't believe Ricardo's as fast as Nathaniel Wood, and I do believe Jourdain is going to find his way inside that distance and land some good shots. I do expect this to be a 3-round fun, back and forth featherweight scrap. Let's go. I can't wait for this fight. I got Charles Jourdain, 29-28 decision. AJ Fletcher taking on Bryan Battle in the welterweight division. AJ has never been finished as a pro. Bryan Battle, I don't believe, has been finished either. He lost to Renat Fakhretdinov. He did get submitted. Never mind. It was back in 2019, his second pro fight. He lost that one by an arm bar in round number 1. That was up in the UFC's middleweight division, but not the actual UFC. Came back after that, finish. Joined the UFC on the Ultimate Fighter, beat Cameron Lachinov, looked really good in doing so. Submitted Andre Petroski. Andre went in there for the takedown. Was trying to, do his game plan of taking him down, grinding out a good decision, ground and pound and winning that way, but boom, walks right into that ninja choke of my man, Bryan Battle on the Ultimate Fighter finale. Goes out there, uses some really good striking against Gilbert Urbina, then takes him down to submit him. Tresean Gore gets outstruck a little bit, takes the fight down, dominates it there. Takashi Sato, boom, head kick KO. Gabe Green, boom, counter right hook. And the only fight he's lost since he's been in the UFC was Renat Fakhretdinov, who is an absolute beast. And I know AJ Fletcher is a good wrestler. I know Renat is a good wrestler, but you simply cannot compare the two guys. They are on such different freaking levels. And I think Bryan Battle is going to be the better striker here, being taller and 10 inches longer than AJ Fletcher here. Is going to use his submission defense and his takedown defense that I believe will be good here. Not like how it was in the Renat fight, because Renat is an absolute killer, but I think he defends the takedowns, keeps this one on the feet, and outstrikes AJ Fletcher. Marina Rodriguez, Michelle Waterson-Gomez, dos. This is a rematch in the women's strawweight division. If you remember the first fight, it was a little while ago, and it was a unanimous decision win for Marina Rodriguez in a 5-round main event. They were similar ages, 34 and 35 years old, but it wasn't at strawweight. It was in the flyweight division. I don't remember if it was short notice, and that was why it was up in the UFC's flyweight division. Angela Hill, Amanda Hebus. It wasn't short notice from what I'm remembering, but if we check on to the UFC rankings now, I'm curious to see where Michelle Waterson is ranked, because I remember seeing her pretty low on the rankings there. She's at number 12 now in the women's strawweight division, with Marina at number 8. Marina was recently in the top 5, and Michelle was recently inside of the top 10, so they've both taken some falls in their last few fights inside of the UFC. Their last fight was very, very fun to watch for sure, especially 5 rounds of that amazing fight, but now they are going to be fighting at strawweight, not flyweight. It is going to be a rematch, and now they are a lot older at 36 and 37 years old. Michelle still has not won since that Marina Rodriguez fight. Got submitted by Amanda Lemos and lost a super close one to Luana Pinheiro. Marina also lost to Amanda Lemos, and then she got out grappled by Verna Jandiroba. But just like the last fight with Michelle Waterson, just like the fight with Mackenzie Dern, just like her fight with Yan Xiaonan, she's going to keep it on the feet. The volume between both girls is going to be the same, but the power is going to be more on the side of Marina Rodriguez. So I do believe Marina Rodriguez is going to land with the harder shots and win this fight by unanimous decision. Bryce Mitchell and Dan Ige in the featherweight division. I do believe striking-wise, Dan Ige is slightly better. It's not a huge difference in skill for Dan Ige when it does come to the striking, but I give Dan Ige a slight advantage when it comes to speed, power, precision, technique, all of that good stuff. He does have a slight edge. But we all know, like the Dan Ige Movsar Evloev fight that happened a little while ago, even like the Chan Sung Jung fight, Dan Ige's takedown defense is a little bit iffy. Sometimes it's very good. Sometimes he gets taken down with relative ease. And fighting a guy like Bryce Mitchell, he's going to be grinding for that takedown, looking to land takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown over and over again. I think Dan Ige will have his moments. I think Bryce Mitchell will have his moments, and it'll be 19-19 entering the third and final round, where I think Ige is going to land some good shots. Boom, Bryce Mitchell's going to land some good shots, land the takedown. It's going to be a close one. 2 judges have it one way, 1 judge has it the other way. I got this one being a split decision for Bryce Mitchell. I do believe he comes back with a good win here, out wrestling and out grappling Dan Ige late for the unanimous, the split decision. Very close fight at featherweight. Mateusz Gamrot and Rafael Fiziev in the UFC's lightweight division. Fiziev, 30 years old, still very young for this lightweight division. Not as tall as Gamrot, but a little bit lengthier than Mateusz Gamrot. And he has some of the best takedown defense in the UFC's lightweight division. Even when he has been taken down, the dude gets right back up. And Mateusz Gamrot, I believe, is going to get some takedowns here. I believe he's going to get some control time here. I believe he's going to go for some submission attempts. But Rafael Fiziev, he's got great cardio, he's got good get-up game, and of course, good takedown defense. But even if he does get taken down, I think he gets back up sooner or later, and he just has such an edge when it does come to the strike. And Mateusz Gamrot was getting outstruck by Beneil Dariush, who I think Rafael Fiziev would be doing some pretty bad things too, in my opinion, if they were to strike with each other. But this should be a good one. I think Gamrot will have his moments, some takedowns, some control time, some submission attempts, some ground and pound. And I do have it a 48-47 Rafael Fiziev unanimous decision. Very fun fight in the main event. That is it for the full card prediction. I got Rafael by a decision. I got Bryce Mitchell. I got Marina Rodriguez, Bryan Battle, Charles Jourdain, Dan Argueta, underdog Tim Means, Jacob Malkoun, Mohammed Usman, Mizuki, Inoue, as well as Tamires Vidal. Those are the predictions. Thanks for watching.